money. I'm sure you're familiar with what stimulus money is. The purpose of it is to promote the economic recovery and to invest in infrastructure to provide long-term economic benefits. Now keep that in mind. It's supposed to help the economy, right? Would you believe that the Shawnee National Forest spent $105,000 to build and erect 44 gates to put across roads? Now, to be fair to the Forest Service, some of those are Forest Service roads. They have a right to do that. But they have also put these gates across public roads. What do I mean by public? These are roads that are on your county maps, that are maintained or under the control of your road commissioner, your county engineer, or your county board. So my question to the Forest Service was, how does that stimulate the economy? Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, the contracts were awarded to a company from Georgia and Springfield, Illinois, to build and erect the gates. So none of that money stayed here. I wanted to tell you that. All right, so the public road issue we have here, by putting up these gates, I need to make it clear that you can still walk and hike, you can still ride your horse. But you can't go in with your truck and trailer to ride your horse. You can't go in like over one of these. As a matter of fact, this one right now, it is open. They opened it up. Turkey hunters are back there, about a dozen of them. You know what? Turkey hunters spend money. They buy gasoline, they buy food, they have to buy a license. So what I'm scared of is that the Forest Service, little by little, is choking us out of the forest. They started with ATVs, then they put the horseback rider on designated trails, and guess what? Did you know if you were a hiker and you went and walked in the wilderness this very day, you can only go in groups of 10. So if you have a church group or a 4-H group or a scout group, you can only go in groups of 10, then you got to wait a little bit and then have another group of 10. They keep shutting us out, shutting us out, shutting us out. So, if you will look up here, here's the one road I was talking about. This one gate, which consists of 2 posts, 1 bar, 1 sign, and a lock, costs you taxpayers $2,400. $2,400 for one gate. They put up 44 of them. Okay? Stimulus money was used to close that public road whenever they want to. They say, well, Mr. Scott, we're not going to close them. And I said, why'd you do this? Why do you put a gate up if you're not going to close them? Well, the weather might get kind of bad, we may have to shut it out. I said, what about EMT service? What about fire protection? What about search and rescue when they have to go in there to find someone? Well, they can call us. We'll come out and unlock it, or you can take a pair of bolt cutters and you can cut the gate, cut the lock off if you want to. So the reason I'm here today is to tell you again that $105,000 of our stimulus money was spent, and not only is it not stimulating, it's actually acting in a negative way. I've always found that it's easier for the Forest Service to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission. Forest Service never asks for permission, they just do. And I'd like to close by saying a couple of things. Number one of our former presidents said 10 most frightening words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you. Remember that. I'm going to close also by saying that once the program is over today, I would appreciate your signature on the petition. We've only had the petition out for 5 weeks. We have over 1,200 signatures just in 5 weeks. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Scott. Our next speaker is Larry Morse from the Illinois Rifle Association, and his bio is that he is a native Southern Illinoisan. He has been an activist for over 20 years for the Second Amendment. He is also a board member of the Illinois State Rifle Association and a firearms trainer. So I present to you Mr. Larry Morse.
Just to clarify, who owns the National Forest anyway? Thank you for reminding me. Folks, I'll have to resist the temptation. I frequently talk with my hands, and in a moment of passion, this microphone might wind up way out in the audience. can. Welcome for coming here. Welcome to you for coming here today. I appreciate you having the courage to show up at this event. And some of you are saying, what the heck, it doesn't take any courage. Well, I submit to you that it does. And many of your neighbors wouldn't show up here today because it's a Tea Party event. They don't want to be tainted with that liberal media slant. I want to address that issue in just a minute, but first I want to cut to the chase with the gun issues. As Mr. Mosley has said here, I've been a firearms activist for the last 20 plus years. I have never been so happy, so enthusiastic about things that are happening in the area of gun legislation right now. I want to read a few of these things to you. Over the past 2 years, we've had two landmark Supreme Court cases. Heller versus, D.C. versus Heller, McDonald versus Chicago, that told us what we knew all along. If you got out of 6th grade being able to read, you could read the Constitution. The founders meant the Second Amendment to be an individual right, period. Finally, the Supreme Court got the message and they said that's exactly right. Right now, the Second Amendment is being discussed in law schools all across this country where for the last 60 years it has been absent from the curriculum. Now it's a big deal. Illinois Supreme Court rules the backseat armrest is a case in compliance with Illinois law. That means you can keep your unloaded firearm in the center console, the glove compartment type console in the back seat of your car, in addition to the front seat of your car. That right now does not mean your glove box. Okay, does not mean your glove box. It can mean a fanny pack also. Mark my words, folks, somewhere down the road, this thing is going to go to court enough times they're going to quit prosecuting people about it, because one of the proudest things that one of the moments of pride with the Illinois State Rifle Association is the fact that when they wrote the legislation, the current legislation regarding transportation of firearms, they inserted a little phrase that you can transport your gun legally by having it in a shipping box, a gun case, or other container. Those two words, other container, will ultimately walk down to the point where it's your wife's purse, maybe your glove box, maybe even a McDonald's wrapper somewhere down the road here. But these things have to go to court. Judges and juries or judges have to tell us what the law means. That doesn't sound right, but that's exactly how it works. Here's another one for you. I can flip this over. Illinois Sheriff's Association supports concealed carry legislation. Never in my lifetime would I agree that would have happened. Here's another. Illinois Association Chiefs of Police support legalizing concealed carry proposal. 5 years ago, that would have been unthinkable. Proponents are growing in support for concealed carry at the State Journal Register. Newspapers all over the country, all over the state here, pardon me for fumbling, all over the state here are getting the message that concealed carry saves lives. And by the way, most of you here probably would never get a concealed carry license and probably don't even care. But let me remind you why this is important. Usually only about 2 or 3% of the state's residents avail themselves of the privilege of getting a concealed carry license, but they protect everybody. They've done survey after survey in the prisons, and they asked the prisoners, have you ever been discouraged from attacking somebody because you thought they might be armed? And invariably, they say yes. So they don't, if you've got concealed carry in a state, they don't know if there's a gun in your purse, in your pocket, in your jacket. So it instills a little element of doubt in the mind of the criminal, so he's more likely to leave you alone. Now the trade-off for this is simply this. Violent crime rates typically go down in states with concealed carry, but nonviolent crime rates tend to go up. Nonviolent crime rates meaning car theft, unoccupied home burglaries, and things of that nature. I normally ask people who have questions about that, would you rather have a thug with a knife at your throat asking for your billfold, or would you rather have to steal your flat screen TV? Well, you weigh those out. There's a simple question to that. Let him go into my house and steal my flat screen and leave me alone. Concealed carry does that kind of thing. Here's another one for you. This one is absolutely astounding. Chicago Tribune, this is the headline. Illinois should give licensed citizens the right to carry weapons. Can you believe that? Okay, now everything is not coming up roses here. We've got some threats on the horizon. The most recent one you probably heard of, Lisa Madigan, our state's attorney general, wants to give your name away if you have a FOID card. Again, for those of you that don't understand why that's important, let me give you this scenario here. If you're a criminal and you're looking to get guns out of somebody's house, this is a shopping list. This FOID card list would be a shopping list for you. You go to your house, because I know you're on the list, and by inference, you have guns in your house. On the other hand, if you don't have guns, you're in jeopardy also. If you got a criminal that doesn't probably don't have a gun. So either way, either choice here is a bad choice for us. Some other things, there's some things floating around down in Springfield called assault weapons ban that is mislabeled. It should be home defense rifle ban. They say that they try to demonize magazines that are more than 10 rounds, like call them high capacity magazines. I would submit to you that if you have 5 people in your living room at 3 in the morning, up to no good, and you didn't invite them there, that a high capacity magazine might be in your best interest. The very thing that makes it interesting to a criminal makes it interesting to you in a home defense situation. All right, now, let's get to another subject here. I want you to reach, those of you who are under 50 can do this. Reach over the back of your shoulder here and pat yourself on the back, and even better yet, turn around to your neighbor and say, thanks for coming today. Why is this important? Well, very simply, it does take courage to show up at one of these meetings because we've been so demonized. Some of you that are paying attention to TV understand that they call us racist, homophobes, bigoted, knuckle-dragging Neanderthals, and all kinds of names that you could think of to try to keep people from coming down here and visiting these meetings. Why do you think they do that? Anybody? Because they're afraid of us. That's exactly right. And we're effective and they're afraid of us. So the liberal media wants to demonize you here. I've gone through this before, and I want to tell you a personal story that is not just my personal story. This is a personal story of several people in the area. One of them happens to be sitting right over here behind the bushes, and thousands of people across this country. I want to take you back, those of you who are old enough to remember this, to the early 1990s, 1992 to be exact. We had an anti-gun president and an anti-gun governor. And these two folks were engaged in some kind of a contest to see who could come out with a one-a-month anti-gun, anti-self-defense bill, and gun owners thought the world was coming to an end. And for the first time in their lives, thousands of gun owners across this country became politically active to defend the Second Amendment and their right to own a gun for self-protection. And that, by the way, that essentially is the element of owning a gun. I know the Constitution has a little different slant on this, but guns are self-defense. Why would a state or why would a country keep your mom, your sister, your elderly dad, anyone from exercising their right to use the most efficient self-defense device ever invented by man? Well, there's a couple of reasons I can think of, we won't get into that, but nonetheless, it's goofy idea. The media demonizes us because they don't want us to come down here and share ideas and support each other. They don't want us to see that we're not alone. In 1992, we're in a similar situation. Do rallies to visit with our congressmen. We spent money we didn't have. We spent time away from our families. We came home tired and broke, and honestly very discouraged because we could not see any tangible evidence that we made any progress, like none. Then in 1994, you remember what happened then? After 40 years of liberal control of the Congress of the United States, we turned it over to conservatives. All right? We also, for the first time in the history of the Republic, sent a sitting Speaker of the House, a guy named Tom Foley, back to Oregon. That had never happened before. And it all happened because of 1994.